Okay, we're back. One good thing to try to practice, again, is these shapes. Okay, can you move the whole thing so it's in the same exact inversion? You might even try a ring finger out instead for these, as opposed to middle finger. So try finger 4, try finger 3 on the third. Okay, gives you different ways that you can move to different places. The Jingle Bells voicings measures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The first ending is the 7th and the 8th measure, and it repeats back to the first. And then there's the 9th and the 10th measure. So the first chord starts off, and I'm going to play everything up an octave so that it's prettier. Down an octave so it's a little bit lower. So I'm going to start on that chord and then go to this one, and then to this one, and then to this one. Okay, so let's look at these. If you print your sheet, have it readily available to you. The first chord is a C major 7 that we're turning into a C dominant 7. Can't speak today. That we're turning into an A minor 7 just by moving one voice. So keeping all these notes is literally changing all these colors, okay? And changing the quality of the chord, the sonority of the chord. So C major 7, C dominant 7, A minor 7, which is also a C6, okay? And then an A flat augmented 7. And then keeping your thumb up here, this voice moves up, the bottom voices move down. Okay, so see that again. Jazz is all about smooth voice leading. So there's a little chromatic melody happening right here in the chords, and then these two notes go chromatic, and then they go chromatic again. So how pretty is that? The B goes to a B flat, to an A, and then the F and the A split apart from each other, and then the F sharp or G flat and A flat fall down to F natural while this note moves up. Okay, it would have sounded just about as pretty as that, and this chord could work over top. So here's a D9, one way of playing a D9. Here's another way of playing a D9. Okay, so both of these are actually D9s. I'm going to do this one. Probably would recommend trying ring finger on that. Either one. Okay, and on the next chord, G7. So two of the voices fall. Then all of the voices move up for the next line and turn in. Oh, excuse me, I'm not reading correctly. Yep, all the voices move up. This is this is a F6 chord. Here's F. Here's a 6. Even though I'm calling it a G7. Okay, for function, there's going to be a bass player way down here that's playing a G, that's gluing it all together. And then we move it all up, so all the voices move up. So here is a first inversion D minor 7 chord, moving to a first inversion E minor 7 chord, even though I'm calling them something totally else because of chord function, how the chord works and sounds in the song. Okay, so let's go over all that again. So we started on the very first measure, played this chord, and the second chord, second measure, and its second chord. What a pretty chord. And then the next chord, third measure, second half of that measure, and then the fourth measure. We come up, play the C major 7 chord, and then I just switch one note. Oh, and we've talked about that in the previous video when you move a note down. So I'm switching here. The chord name is switching by a third. This is an E chord turning into a C chord. So it's an E minor 7 turning into a C major 7, even though I'm calling actually a C major 7. But a G note is in the bass. That's what that slash. So the bass player just switched. I'm playing this with the right hand. Measure 4, the bass player was playing a C. And then the bass player plays a G with the next chord. On its way to an F chord. Okay, so measure 4. We have C major 7, and then another variation of a C major 7. Technically, that was a C major 9. And then we have the 5th measure, F major. And then here's an F major 6. Okay, I'm calling it an F major 7. I'm still imagining that E sound in there. The bass player changes his note to a G that does not affect our chord. Then, this really cool shape here. It basically looks like it's an A chord without the 3rd. Okay, we have an A, B, D, E. I'm in measure 6, E minor 7. We're really playing an E minor 11 chord. That's the A, the A. Okay, and then here is the 5th, the 7th, and the root. And then I decided to turn this into an A7. So it's a dominant chord. In this key, it should have been this, but I decided to go for a color because the melody note is on an E here, so it didn't matter what I did with any of this voice. Okay, I could have changed some other notes in here. Anything that's not an E, I can change and make these neat jazz colors. So measure 6 started on this E minor 7 chord. Then it falls. Several of the voices fall down. Okay, there's that cool jazz trick again. The D is falling down, the B is falling down, and the A is falling down. Because of that. And then the next chord, D minor 7, or measure 7, to a flat 5. Oh, how pretty is that? Okay, and then the next chord, the 2 inside voices move together by a half step. Isn't that cool? Okay, so here's a D minor 7 flat 5. That turning into the G chord. And then the next chord, we're just raising the 5th, or sharpening the 5th, okay, for an augmented chord. So here's your G7 chord with a sharp 5. And you can hear these 2 notes, and this note is trying to fall. It's so pretty. Okay, and then we're right back to the beginning. Okay, we might as well go ahead to the second ending just to explore stuff. We have a G chord over a D, and I voiced it this way. I believe we played that before. I just can't read my chart fast enough. Play this anywhere else? We have played this inversion. Oh yes, at measure 8. Here's the same chord. Okay, and then here is the flat 9 of that chord. So notice that chromatic movement. And on the next chord, I wrote a sharp 13, which means a 6. So here's a C6 at measure 10. That's the A. And the sharp 11 means that up here somebody can add an F sharp. Improvise the ending. Okay, so sharp 11 just means that you can take the 4th scale degree and raise it, or I like to think of it as a C major chord with a D major chord imposed over top of it. So whatever the name of the chord is, you go up one, the lower hand is implying the lower chord, and the upper hand is implying a whole step above that. And you can see we're hinting at the key of G here, which is really kind of cool because the whole song has been playing along in the key of C the entire time. Yeah, I mean, we've been changing some chords. The melody has not changed from the key of C, and we're sticking in some chords that are hinting at other keys. Okay, so let's go back to the top. I'm going to add the melodies. So it starts on right here on this E, it goes. Stop on the next chord. Okay, so let's do that again. It's so pretty, right? Your right hand's only doing one note at a time. So, ready, it's. And move down to the A. Okay, remember that chord. This is going to come back and help you lots later on. And then. Okay, let's try that again. Ready, it's first line. Good, keep the top note up there. When the top note falls, then the whole chord moves up. Okay, so I see this chord at the end of measure 2. The top voice stays, and this voice comes up, and these two voices fall. Remember that from a long time, 5 minutes ago in our video? Okay, and then the top two voices fall down, and then that's the end of measure 3, and then all voices move up, and we're at measure 4. So one more time. I stop the video and just play this one section and get it correct, okay, before you go on. It's better to learn in small parts and memorize this and really learn it. And then as the songs get more hard, you've got all these skill sets that you've learned, okay? I was a terrible student when I was a kid, and I would just keep playing the whole song, measure 1, measure 2, measure 10, measure 20, measure 50, and I never learned anything, or I didn't learn very fast because I was doing way too much and getting confused. So here we go from the beginning. 3, first line. First measure, second half, second measure, second half, and then did that wrong. See, I'm not even learning here. So obviously I need to go back and work on that part. Fourth measure. Oh, what fun. Let me break up my other sheet. Oh, I split that word. Jingle all the... I played this at measure 4. Way, and then I switched to another chord while I'm holding way. Measure 5 is oh, what fun. Let's do that again. Let's hit jingle all the... Measure 4 is way. Ready, go. Way for 2. Switch the voicings for 2. Measure 5. What fun. Move up to an A position. It is 2. A7 chord. Right in up. Here's our first ending. 1 horse, half diminished, sleigh. And here's our cool augmented chord, hey. Okay, let's take it right at the first ending. The lyrics are 1 horse open sleigh. Up here, 1 horse open sleigh, hey. So it's 1 horse, move the A to an A flat. It's an F chord with a B chord on top. And then, okay, so here's an F dyad. Instead of a triad meaning 3, here's 2 plus a B dyad. So that's what I meant, an F chord with a B chord stacked on top of it. Okay, somewhere as soon as we start inverting chords, so here's C major 7. So here's an E chord. A C chord, but here's the E. Going to start stacking a C chord on the G chord. So somewhere in every chord when we get to this voicing, okay, which is actually a second inversion, you kind of can see the 2 dyads, okay? You can see the 2 dyads here. They're spaced apart by a third. It's hard to see. You actually have a triad plus a second, and then 2 dyads, and then a second plus a triad. Okay, so that's another way of looking at the chords. So let's do that whole thing again from the very beginning. Measure 1, 2, 3, 4, slow. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle, and then all the way. Switch the voicings. Measure 5. Oh, what fun it is to run in first first ending. It's a one horse. Oops, played that wrong. One horse open sleigh. Hey. And it repeats all the way back to the beginning. Your chord moves up just one little bit. Third measure is... switch the voice to measure 5, F major 7. And then okay. So enjoy these voicings in this video. Slow down and take it apart. Do 3 measures at a time. Measures 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Do it over and over again. Rinse, lather, repeat. Play it 4 or 5 times in a row excellently. Work on your left hand, totally separate from the right hand. Okay, Jingle Bells is a good one because the melody should be memorized. You're in what we call a pentascale. You don't have to move around at all for the melody, so it saves you time. So you should not be looking at your right hand at all. You should have this memorized so that you can put it all together. Another idea for the song is you could play just the top 2 voices. See sideways, my sheet music is straight across my piano. Okay? Oh and oh, let's see. Oh, what fun it is to run. Okay? So a guitarist is not able to play these close voicings like we're doing on the piano. They can't play these notes. So a guitar player might be able to play something like this. Do some walk downs and things like that, but that's why the written music allows everybody to read it. Another trick on this is we could actually give the 4 voice parts. So thinking of the G as voice 1, 2, 3, 4. The second voice, if we had 4 saxophone players, the second saxophone player would move, and he would move again, and then the first and second saxophone players or voices would move. Okay, and then everybody moves except for voice number 4 when they hit this chord, and then voices 3 and 4 move. So there's another way of looking at it. Voice 1, 2, 3, 4. The lowest voice, second voice, third voice, fourth voice. Can you have more voices? Yes. But what if you only have 3 saxophone players in your band? What do you do then? Well, that's when you have to kind of figure out what chord tones to leave in and what notes to leave out. Obviously, in a C chord, the bass player is playing a C, so you could leave the C out. Okay? We've all talked about in theory before, when you're playing a C chord, the most important notes are C and G, and the audience hears them when a bass player plays a low C. I'll even play an octave down here. Okay? And I can prove that. I'm going to push my piano down without striking any keys so that the dampers have lifted up in my piano, and when I play a C, and then here is a G and a weed whacker in the back. You can hear the G rings. So whenever a bass player plays a C, you are actually hearing these 2 notes very subtly in the background. So what 2 notes do you leave out of a C major 7 chord? Well, of course, the root and the 5th, because they need to hear the color to the chord and the melody. Okay? And on the A chord, I need to leave out the A and the E, so, and then leaving out the A flat and the E flat. That's it. Well, technically I'm playing the E in the melody, so there's the 5th. Okay? So you can kind of figure out what voices you need by knowing that old theory trick of what is the name of the chord and its fifth, and those are the voices that are being covered by the bass player technically, and a lot of the singer, the main melody might be covering these voices too. So these notes don't need to be touched. It's the other two notes you need to be working on. So if you're on an A chord of some type, okay, you do not need to be responsible for these two notes. You need to be responsible for this, the third and the seventh, or the third and how about the ninth if you're adding a 9 chord. Okay, but what if you only have 2 saxophone players? Well, maybe the third and the ninth, okay, or the third and the ninth this way. Okay, so if it was an A 9 chord, which notes do you leave out? For sure you leave those out, okay? Can you find the most tense and colorful notes that aren't in the key? So as soon as I play this chord, I'm in the key of C, I need to have this note. Probably the singer has to do it for sure, the main melody person, or one of our saxophone or trombone players has to cover this voice because we want it in there to be heard. Okay, or our guitar player has to make it very prevalent, or our piano player. Somebody has to make that note, or elsewise we hear the very vanilla C chord or the very vanilla D chord. Okay, but all these neat colors that you can do